She called my handmade gift cheap in front of everybody. Those words cut through my heart like a knife. I had spent nights working on it, pouring in love, memories, and hours of patience. It wasn't just a gift, it was a piece of me. And yet, Grandma held it up, wrinkled her nose, and let out a laugh that echoed across the crowded living room. Cheap, she said again, her voice sharp, her eyes glancing at the cousins and neighbors who all chuckled along just to stay on her good side. The room spun around me. My palms turned sweaty, but I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I didn't cry. I simply smiled, nodded politely, and walked out of the room. Nobody noticed the small envelope I carried back with me. The envelope that held Grandma's precious college fund for my younger cousin, the one she always favored. I had planned to give it as a surprise. But at that moment, I decided something different. I took back the fund. Quietly. Without a word. And as I walked into the cold night, the laughter still ringing behind me, I made a promise. This story wasn't over. But before I tell you what happened next, let me introduce myself properly. My name is Daniel. I'm 21 years old, and I'm speaking to you right from Dallas, Texas. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this story, and click the notification bell because more shocking and interesting stories are on the way. I want to know, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below before we dive in. Now let's go back to the beginning of it all. It started 2 months earlier, when Grandma announced she was throwing her 75th birthday party. Everyone knew Grandma was, well, let's just say she had a sharp tongue and sharper favorites. She made no secret of loving my cousin Ben, more than the rest of us. She praised his every step like he was walking on golden streets, while the rest of us barely got noticed. Still, she was Grandma. And despite her tough ways, I loved her. That's why I decided to make her something from the heart. See, I wasn't rich. I didn't have a fancy car or a big job. But what I had were my hands and my time. So I carved a wooden jewelry box with my own hands. Not just any box. It had tiny details of roses etched on the lid, each petal smoothed carefully. Inside, I lined it with soft velvet and painted her initials in gold. It was something money couldn't buy because it carried love. While I was working on it late one night, my sister Anna walked in. She leaned against the door and whispered, "You really think she'll like that?" I looked up. Why wouldn't she? Anna sighed. Because you know how Grandma is. If it doesn't shine with diamonds, she doesn't care. But I shook my head. This isn't about diamonds. It's about love. She'll see it. Or at least I thought she would. The days passed quickly. Everyone in the family buzzed about the party. Aunt Mary hired a live band. Uncle Tom promised to bring Grandma's favorite chocolate cake. Even Ben bragged about buying her a golden bracelet from an expensive store downtown. I kept quiet. My gift wasn't flashy, but it was mine. The night of the party finally came. The hall was filled with bright lights, music, and the smell of roasted turkey. Grandma sat in the center like a queen on her throne, her silver hair shining under the chandelier. Everyone came forward one by one, giving her gifts, jewelry, perfumes, handbags. Each time Grandma smiled wide, her voice loud with praise. And then came my turn. I walked up, holding the box wrapped in simple paper. I handed it to her, my heart pounding. "Happy birthday, Grandma. I made this for you." She tore the wrapping and pulled out the wooden box. For one small moment, silence filled the room. Her eyes scanned the box, her fingers brushed the carved roses. My chest tightened with hope. Maybe she liked it. Maybe this would be the moment she saw me. Not just as the less favorite grandson, but as Daniel. But then she frowned. "This?" she said, holding it up high. "You brought me this cheap thing?" The room burst into laughter. Every cousin, every uncle, every guest, they laughed with her. My face burned. My heart sank. Anna's eyes widened in shock, but she stayed silent too. That was the moment. That was when I smiled, nodded, and walked away. But what no one saw was that I didn't just walk away with hurt feelings. I walked away with the envelope. The college fund I had saved for Ben. The one I had been planning to give Grandma to announce as a surprise gift. Thousands of dollars I had worked 2 jobs to collect. Money meant for his future. But not anymore. And that's when the real story began. Because what I did next changed everything in our family. And it started with a secret phone call I made that very same night. I left the party that night with the wooden box still burned in my mind, her words echoing over and over. Cheap. I kept my smile on the outside, but inside my heart was breaking into pieces. I walked down the street, the cool Dallas night wrapping around me like a blanket I didn't ask for. I pulled out my phone, scrolled through the contacts, and dialed a number I hadn't called in years. Hello, a deep voice answered. It's me, I said quietly. There was a long pause. Then the voice chuckled. Well, if it isn't Daniel. What's the matter? Trouble at home. I hesitated, then spoke. I need your help. And I need it fast. That was the beginning of something I couldn't stop once it started. But before I get too far, let me explain. The man on the other end of the line was my dad's old friend, Mr. Carter. A man Grandma couldn't stand. He ran a small business, some said shady, some said honest. I never asked questions. But one thing was sure. He always had a way of making things even. I wasn't planning to hurt anyone. I just wanted balance. Grandma had embarrassed me in front of the whole family, and she had made it clear where her heart belonged, always with Ben. But what if just this once things flipped? What if the golden boy wasn't so golden anymore? I slipped the envelope of cash into my jacket pocket and whispered into the phone. Meet me tomorrow at 9 a.m. You know the cafe on Main Street. Got it, Mr. Carter said. Don't be late. I hung up and shoved the phone back into my pocket. My legs felt shaky. My hands were cold. What was I doing? The next morning, the sun rose too bright for my tired eyes. I hadn't slept a minute. At 8:45 sharp, I walked into the cafe. The smell of fresh coffee and buttered toast filled the air, but I had no appetite. I spotted Mr. Carter in the corner, a man with graying hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. You look terrible, he said as I slid into the booth. Thanks, I muttered. So what's this about? I pulled the envelope from my jacket and set it on the table. His eyes lit up at the sight of it. That's a heavy envelope. It was supposed to be a gift, I said. A college fund for Ben. But I'm not giving it anymore. I want you to put it somewhere safe. Not in my name. Not in anyone's name the family will know. Just safe. Mr. Carter raised a brow. Running away from something? No, I said firmly. I'm taking back what's mine. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. I can do that. But Daniel, money changes things. Are you ready for the storm this will bring? I swallowed hard. The storm already started last night. We shook hands and he took the envelope. My chest felt lighter but my stomach twisted. What if Grandma found out? What if the family turned against me even more? But deep inside a fire burned. For once I wasn't the silent grandson. For once I had taken control. Later that evening my phone buzzed. A text from Anna. Where did you go last night? Grandma is furious. She said you stormed out and embarrassed her. Ben is bragging even more. Call me ASAP. I stared at the screen, my jaw tight. So now I was the one who embarrassed her? She had mocked me, humiliated me, and yet somehow I was the villain. Called Anna back. Her voice came through, hurried and worried. Daniel, listen. Grandma told the whole family that your gift was an insult. She said you're ungrateful and disrespectful. Everyone's talking. They think you left because you were jealous of Ben. My chest tightened. Jealous? I hissed. Yes. And she said you'll regret walking out like that. I froze. Those words didn't sound like simple anger. They sounded like a warning. What does she mean by regret? I asked. Anna's voice dropped to a whisper. Daniel, I think Grandma is planning something. Something big. I pressed the phone tighter against my ear, my pulse quickening. What do you mean she's planning something? I asked. Anna sighed, her voice trembling. I don't know exactly, Daniel. But you know how Grandma is. When she feels crossed, she doesn't just let it go. She gets even. I rubbed my forehead, pacing the room. She humiliated me in front of the entire family. And now I'm the bad guy. That's what she told everyone, Anna whispered. She made it sound like you stormed out because you were jealous of Ben's gift. She didn't mention calling your gift cheap. And Daniel. Everyone believed her. Even Uncle Tom said you need to grow up. I laughed bitterly. Of course. They only ever see what she wants them to see. Anna's voice softened. I believe you. I know what really happened. But the rest of them, they don't care. They'll side with her no matter what. Her words sank deep. It wasn't just about a wooden box anymore. It was about loyalty, about truth, about being invisible in a family where one golden child always shone brighter than the rest. I leaned against the window, staring at the cars passing below. If she wants a game, Anna, then maybe it's time someone finally played back. Anna gasped. Daniel, don't. You don't know what you're saying. This is Grandma we're talking about. She may be harsh, but she's still family. She stopped being just family when she laughed at me in front of everyone. I said, my voice low. There was silence on the other end. Then Anna whispered, just be careful, please. After the call ended, I sat in the dark, my mind racing. I thought about the envelope Mr. Carter now held. I thought about Grandma's cold laugh, Ben's smug grin, and the way the room had turned against me without hesitation. Something inside me shifted that night. I wasn't going to just take it anymore. The next few days were strangely quiet. Grandma didn't call. Neither did any of the uncles or aunts. Only Anna checked in, her voice always edged with worry. But on the fourth day, the storm broke. It was around 7 p.m. when my phone rang. It was Uncle Tom. Daniel, he barked, skipping any greeting. What is this nonsense about you stealing from Grandma? My blood ran cold. What? You heard me, he snapped. Grandma says you took money from her drawer before leaving the party. Thousands of dollars. She said you betrayed her on her birthday of all days. I nearly dropped the phone. That's a lie. I never touched her money. But my mind raced. She didn't know about the envelope I had taken back, did she? How could she? Unless she guessed. Uncle Tom's voice was hard. She's furious, Daniel. And you know how she gets when she's angry. She's telling everyone you're ungrateful and greedy. You better straighten this out fast. He hung up before I could reply. I sank into my chair, staring at the wall. Grandma had turned the tables. She was painting me as the thief, when all I had done was reclaim what was mine. She wasn't just playing a game. She was waging a war. That night, Anna came over. She slipped inside my apartment, her face pale. Daniel, it's worse than you think. Grandma's telling people she's considering cutting you out of her will completely. She's making calls to all the relatives, poisoning them against you. Everyone's starting to look at you like you're dangerous. I clenched my fists. Let her. I don't want her money. It's not about the money, Anna whispered. It's about your name. She's trying to erase you from the family's respect. I stared at her, the weight of it sinking in. Then maybe I need to show her she picked the wrong person to mess with. Anna shook her head, tears in her eyes. Daniel, you're scaring me. Don't turn this into revenge. Please. But it was too late. In my heart, revenge was already there. The next day, I met Mr. Carter again. We sat in the same corner booth, the envelope now locked away in his possession. She's accusing me of theft. I told him, my voice sharp. Mr. Carter smirked. Typical power play. People like her, they don't fight fair. So you want to fight fair or fight smart? I leaned forward. I want to fight smart. He nodded slowly. Good. Then listen carefully. The only way to beat someone like that is to expose them. Show the family the truth. You said she favors this cousin of yours, Ben? Well, everyone's got secrets. You want balance? Find his. The idea sparked something inside me. For years, Ben had been untouchable. The golden boy. The one Grandma bragged about to her friends. But what if his golden shine wasn't real? What if I could show the family the cracks he tried to hide? Mr. Carter handed me a small card. I know someone who can dig. Private investigator. Costs money, but you've got that covered. I took the card, my hand trembling. Was I really about to do this? To dig into my cousin's life just to prove a point? Yes, because for the first time I had power. That night I called the number. A man named Harris answered. His voice was steady, calm, professional. You need dirt, he asked simply. Yes, I said. On Ben Collins. Consider it done, he replied. I'll be in touch. Days passed. I could hardly focus on work. My chest was always tight, my thoughts racing between fear and anticipation. Anna noticed the change in me. "You're hiding something," she said one evening. I avoided her eyes. "I'm just tired." But inside I was buzzing. Finally, on the 7th day, Harris called. "I've got something," he said. I drove out to meet him at a dimly lit diner on the edge of town. He slid a folder across the table. My hand shook as I opened it. Inside were photos, receipts, reports, and the truth. Ben wasn't the perfect golden boy after all. He had been skipping classes, lying about his grades, and worse, he was deep in gambling debt. Thousands of dollars owed to people he had no business crossing. I stared at the evidence, my jaw tight. This was it. The golden boy had cracks, and I held them in my hands. This could ruin him," I whispered. Harris shrugged. "That's your choice. But you asked for dirt. There it is." I paid him, tucked the folder under my arm, and walked out into the night. My heart raced. My mind spun. Now I had the power to strike back, to turn the tables, to show Grandma and the entire family who they were really praising. But as I drove home, Anna's voice echoed in my head. "Don't turn this into revenge." Was I going too far? Or was this the justice I had been waiting for? When I got home, I sat at the table, staring at the folder. The decision weighed heavy, but my anger burned brighter. And then, just as I reached for the phone to call Anna, there was a loud knock on my door. 3 sharp bangs. I froze. Who would be at my door at this hour? I walked slowly, the folder still in my hands. I opened the door, and there stood Grandma. Her eyes were cold as steel, her lips pressed into a thin line. Behind her, the hallway light cast a shadow that made her look taller, sharper, more powerful than I had ever seen her. She stepped inside without asking, her voice low but firm. "Daniel, we need to talk." She didn't wait for me to invite her in. Grandma brushed past me, her perfume heavy, her cane tapping against the wooden floor with every step. She walked straight to the center of my living room, turned, and fixed me with those sharp blue eyes that had made grown men in our family shrink. "Daniel," she said slowly, "do you know what people are saying about you?" I shut the door, my heart pounding. "I know what you've been saying about me." Her lips curled into a thin smile. "You embarrassed me at my birthday. You stormed out like a spoiled child. And now the whole family thinks you're unstable." I clenched my fists. "I didn't storm out. You mocked me. In front of everyone. I gave you something from the heart, and you called it cheap." Her expression didn't change. "Because it was." The words hit like a slap. She didn't even hesitate. "You think some little wooden box makes up for years of being invisible," she continued, her voice rising. "I raised this family, Daniel. I built its name. And I won't let you tear it down with your bitterness." I felt the folder in my hands grow heavier. Ben's secrets. His gambling debts. His lies. Part of me wanted to throw it in her face right there to watch her mask crack. But something held me back. Instead I said, "I know about Ben." For the first time her eyes flickered. Just a twitch, but I saw it. "What about Ben?" she asked carefully. "I know he's not the golden boy you think he is," I said. "He's been lying, hiding. And if the family finds out..." I let the words hang in the air. Her jaw tightened. "You wouldn't dare." I stepped closer. "Wouldn't I?" The silence between us was thick, heavy. Her cane tapped against the floor twice as she steadied herself. Then she spoke, her voice lower than before. "You don't know what you're playing with, Daniel. Family secrets are dangerous. Once you let them out, you can't put them back." I swallowed hard. Maybe it's time they came out. She studied me for a long moment, then leaned in close enough that I could smell the faint trace of peppermint on her breath. "You think you're strong," she whispered, "but you're still the boy no one listens to. And if you cross me, Daniel, I will make sure you regret it." The words slithered into my ears like poison. My chest tightened, anger bubbling so hot I thought I might explode. Then, her eyes darted to the folder in my hand. "What's that?" she demanded. My grip tightened. "Nothing you need to see." She took a step forward, her cane pressing into the carpet. "Show me." "No." Her voice snapped like a whip. "Show me." And in that moment, she lunged, not with the weakness of a 75-year-old woman, but with the force of someone who had ruled a family with an iron fist for decades. She grabbed the edge of the folder, yanking hard. Papers spilled across the floor like falling leaves. Photos of Ben. Receipts. Reports. His ugly truth lay scattered between us. Her eyes widened. I froze. And then, slowly, the sharp smile returned to her face. "Well," she said softly, bending down to pick up one of the papers, "it looks like we both have weapons now." Grandma's fingers pinched the photo like it was a snake she had just caught. The smile on her face was small but terrifying, the kind of smile that didn't mean happiness, it meant control. "Well, well," she whispered, studying the picture of Ben hunched over a poker table. "My precious grandson isn't so precious after all." I bent quickly, gathering the papers before she could grab more. "Don't touch that." She straightened, slipping the photo into her pocket before I could stop her. "Oh, Daniel, you really are naive. You thought you could use this against me? Against him? Do you think I don't already know what Ben is up to?" I froze. You knew." She tapped her cane on the floor, the sound sharp in the quiet room. "Of course I knew. I've always known. But families protect their own. That's the difference between you and me, Daniel. I cover for the people I love. You dig around, hoping to destroy them." Her words stung, even though I knew she was twisting the truth. "You don't protect him, you enable him. You let him live like a prince while the rest of us scrape by." "And why shouldn't I?" she snapped. "Ben has promise. Ben has charisma. Ben has a future worth saving. What do you have?" I clenched my jaw, anger searing through me. I worked 2 jobs to build that college fund. I was willing to hand it over to him, because I thought it was fair. But not anymore. He doesn't deserve it. Her eyes darkened. "And you do." "I never said that. But I won't stand by while you tear me down and raise him up like a god." She laughed, a bitter sound. "You poor boy. You think life is about fairness? Life is about power. And right now I have it." She tapped the pocket where Ben's photo was tucked. "And you've just handed me more." My stomach dropped. She wasn't going to protect Ben out of love. She was going to use his secrets as another weapon. "Against me." I stepped forward. "If you use that against me." She cut me off with a raised hand. "If." "Oh no, Daniel." "When." Her cane clicked as she walked toward the door. I scrambled to gather the rest of the papers, but she had already taken the one that mattered most, the photo with Ben's face clearly visible. At the door, she turned back. "You've drawn a line, Daniel. And now it's you against me. Let's see how far you're willing to go." Then she left, slamming the door behind her. I stood frozen in the silence, my heart hammering. The war had begun. For the next week, I waited for the fallout. I half expected relatives to start calling, demanding answers. I expected Ben to show up on my doorstep, furious. But instead the silence was worse. No one called. No one texted. It was as though the entire family had been swallowed up in Grandma's shadow, and I was the only one outside it. Anna came by on the 3rd day. She looked tired, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, her eyes wide with worry. "Daniel," she whispered as soon as she stepped inside. "Something's happening. Grandma's been meeting with Ben. Long meetings. Behind closed doors." My chest tightened. "She told him." "I don't know," Anna said, pacing the living room. "But she's different. Colder. She's planning something, I can feel it. And whatever it is, you're the target." I dropped onto the couch, running a hand through my hair. I should have never gone to Carter. I should have never looked for dirt. Anna sat beside me, grabbing my arm. "No. Don't say that. You were just trying to fight back. She started this, not you." But I couldn't shake the guilt gnawing at me. Had I gone too far? That night I barely slept. Every creak of the floorboards made me think of Grandma's voice. Every shadow looked like her standing with that icy smile. On the 5th day the call finally came. It was Ben. "Daniel," he said, his voice low, almost dangerous, "we need to talk." I hesitated. "About what?" "You know what," he growled. "Grandma told me everything." My blood turned cold. "Everything. Don't play dumb. The photos. The debts. All of it. Meet me at the park tomorrow. Noon." The line went dead. I sat in the darkness, gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. This was it. Ben knew. Grandma had lit the fuse, and tomorrow, the explosion would come. The next day, the park was quiet, leaves rustling in the breeze. I spotted Ben sitting on a bench under the oak tree. He looked different, angrier, harder. His usual cocky grin was gone, replaced by a glare that could cut glass. I walked up slowly. Ben. He didn't move. Sit. I sat beside him, my heart racing. You think you're clever, he said after a moment. Digging into my life. Collecting dirt. Planning to show the family I'm not perfect. I swallowed hard. I wasn't planning to hurt you, Ben. I wanted Grandma to see the truth. He turned to me, his eyes blazing. The truth? You don't understand. Grandma doesn't care about truth. She cares about image. And now, thanks to you, she has to work twice as hard to protect mine. Protect yours? I asked. Ben leaned in, his voice dropping. She already told me what to say if anyone asks. She's spinning it so the gambling was your idea. That you dragged me into it. That you're the one who ruined me. I felt the blood drain from my face. She what? She's rewriting the story, Ben sneered. And guess what? The family believes her. They always do. You're already the villain in their eyes. This will just seal it. I shook my head, panic rising. No, I won't let her do this. Ben smirked, standing up. You don't have a choice. Grandma holds all the cards. And now so do I. I stood too, fury burning in my chest. You're lying. You're trying to scare me. But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't a lie. I had seen it before. Grandma's power to twist stories, to bend the family around her like branches in the wind. Ben stepped closer, his voice a whisper only I could hear. Stay quiet, Daniel. Forget what you found, or you'll regret it. Then he walked away, leaving me trembling under the oak tree. I stood there for a long time, the world spinning around me. And that's when my phone buzzed. A text from Anna. Daniel. Something's wrong. Grandma just called an emergency family meeting tonight. She said it's about you. Come home fast. My chest tightened, the breath catching in my throat. A family meeting. About me. This was it. The storm wasn't coming anymore. It was already here. When I pulled up to Grandma's house that night, every window was glowing. Cars lined the street, parked crookedly on both sides, as if everyone had rushed to get there. My stomach twisted as I climbed out of my car. This wasn't just any family meeting. This was a trial, and I was the one on trial. I stood for a moment on the sidewalk, staring at the front door. My palms were sweaty, my chest tight. Part of me wanted to turn around, to drive away and never look back. But Anna's text echoed in my mind. Come home fast. So I took a breath, squared my shoulders, and walked up the porch steps. The moment I stepped inside, every head turned. The living room was full, uncles, aunts, cousins. Even little kids who didn't understand sat cross-legged on the floor, sensing the tension in the air. At the center, in her favorite armchair, sat Grandma. She looked like a queen holding court, her cane resting against her knee. Her lips curled in that tight smile I had learned to fear. Daniel, she said smoothly, her voice carrying over the hush. So glad you could join us. I forced myself to nod, though my throat was dry. I took a seat on the edge of the couch, Anna sliding close beside me. Her hand brushed mine briefly. A silent reminder. You're not alone. But I felt alone. Grandma tapped her cane once, the sharp sound echoing. Family, I have called you here tonight because there has been a troubling development. She paused, her gaze sweeping the room. It concerns Daniel. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I sat stiff, my heart pounding. On the night of my birthday, Grandma continued, Daniel presented me with a gift. And when I expressed my disappointment, he stormed out. That much you know. But what you don't know is what he did afterward. She leaned forward, her eyes locking onto mine like a hawk on its prey. Daniel has been plotting against this family. Against me. Against Ben. Gasps rose. Aunt Mary pressed a hand to her chest. Uncle Tom frowned deeply. My younger cousins whispered among themselves. That's not true. I blurted out, my voice cracking with anger. But Grandma held up a hand. You'll have your chance to speak. For now you will listen. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the photo, the one of Ben at the poker table. She held it up high for everyone to see. Daniel hired someone to dig into Ben's life. He wanted to shame him, to destroy his reputation. Look at this. He paid good money to gather dirt on his own cousin. The room buzzed with shock. Some stared at me in disbelief, others in disgust. Ben sat smugly in a chair by the fireplace, his arms crossed, his expression a mask of hurt innocence. Why would he do that? Aunt Mary demanded. Because he is jealous, Grandma snapped. Jealous of Ben's success, jealous of the love and respect this family has for him. And so he tried to tear him down. That's a lie, I shouted, standing to my feet. I wasn't trying to destroy anyone. I just wanted you to see the truth, that Ben isn't perfect, that he's been lying, gambling, and dragging this family's name through the mud. All eyes turned to Ben. For a moment his mask slipped, just a flicker of guilt, but Grandma quickly stepped in. Enough, Daniel, she barked. Even if that were true, families handle their problems in private. We don't hire strangers to dig into our blood. That is betrayal. I shook my head, my voice trembling. Betrayal? You called my handmade gift cheap in front of everyone. You humiliated me. You made me invisible my whole life. And now you stand there pretending like you've protected this family? You've only ever protected Ben. Silence fell. My words hung heavy in the air. Then Uncle Tom stood. His face was red with anger. Daniel, you've gone too far. We all saw how you left that party. Now this? Digging into your cousin's private life? That's low. Private life. I snapped. He owes thousands in gambling debt. What happens when those debts come knocking at your doors? When the family name is dragged through the papers? But no one listened. They never did. Anna stood beside me, her voice firm. He's telling the truth. I've seen the papers too. Ben isn't as innocent as you all think. But Grandma's laugh cut through the room. Oh, Anna, sweet girl. You always defend him. But this isn't about Ben's mistakes. It's about Daniel's betrayal. The family murmured again, nodding along. It was like they were hypnotized by her. Bound by years of loyalty and fear. I felt the walls closing in. My voice grew louder, desperate. She's twisting everything. She knew about Ben's problems. She covered them up. And now she's blaming me because I won't stay silent anymore. But no one spoke up for me. Not one. Finally, Grandma rose to her feet, leaning on her cane. The room fell silent. Daniel, she said coldly, you are no longer welcome in this house. You will not attend family gatherings. You will not speak to Ben or to me. Until you learn your place, you are cast out. The words landed like blows. I stared at her, my chest aching, my breath shallow. You're disowning me? I whispered. Her eyes didn't waver. I am protecting this family. Tears stung my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Protecting? No. You're controlling. You've always controlled everyone, and they're too blind to see it. The silence was suffocating. Even Anna was shaking, torn between speaking up and holding back. Then Grandma leaned closer, her voice so low only I could hear. Walk away, Daniel, or I will destroy you completely. For a moment I couldn't move. My body felt frozen, my mind spinning. And then I turned, storming out of the house, slamming the door behind me. The cool night air hit my face, but it didn't calm me. My hands shook, my vision blurred with rage. I had been cast out, humiliated again, but this time it was worse. This time I had lost everything. Family, respect, belonging. I climbed into my car, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. And that's when my phone buzzed. A new message. I glanced down. It wasn't from Anna. It wasn't from anyone in the family. It was from an unknown number. I know what Ben owes. I know who he owes it to. Meet me tomorrow if you want proof. My breath caught in my throat. Proof. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The text burned in my mind all night. I know what Ben owes. I know who he owes it to. Meet me tomorrow if you want proof. I barely slept. My thoughts twisted between anger and fear. Who was this person? How did they know about Ben? And why reach out to me of all people? By morning I had made up my mind. If there was even a chance this message was real, I had to see it through. I had nothing left to lose. The sender's instructions were clear. Noon, old bus station downtown. I drove there, my heart pounding harder with every turn of the wheel. The place was half abandoned, the paint peeling off the walls, broken windows letting the wind whistle through. I parked, stepped out, and looked around. Empty. Too empty. Then a man stepped out of the shadows. He was tall, wearing a leather jacket, his face half hidden under a cap. His voice was gravelly when he spoke. "You Daniel?" "Yes," I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. He nodded once, then held up a thin folder. "Ben owes a lot of money. To the wrong people. People who don't forgive." I frowned. "Who are you?" "Let's just say I'm someone who doesn't like being lied to," he said. He tossed the folder onto a cracked bench. "Take it. Proof of what he's into. Names, numbers, dates." I picked up the folder, flipping it open. My stomach dropped. Inside were copies of IOUs, gambling slips, even text messages where Ben begged for more time to pay. The amounts were staggering, tens of thousands. And the names on those slips weren't the kind you could joke with. I whispered. This could ruin him. The man's eyes narrowed. "It won't just ruin him. If he doesn't pay soon, it'll ruin your whole family. People like that, they don't just stop at one man. They come for everything he loves." A chill ran down my spine. Before I could reply, the man leaned closer. "You've got a choice, Daniel. You can bury this, pretend you never saw it, and watch the fire spread. Or you can use it. Expose him before it's too late." I closed the folder slowly, my hands trembling. "Why give this to me?" He smirked. "Because you're the only one in your family who isn't blind." And with that, he walked away, disappearing back into the shadows like he had never been there at all. I stood frozen, the folder clutched against my chest. For the first time, I didn't just feel angry. I felt powerful and terrified. As I walked back to my car, my phone buzzed again. A new message. This time from Anna. "Daniel, come quick. Grandma just collapsed." I froze, the folder slipping slightly in my grip. Grandma collapsed. The storm had just taken a deadly turn. I gripped the steering wheel so tightly that my hands hurt, but I didn't notice. The words on the screen replayed in my head like a siren. Grandma just collapsed. I hit the gas harder, the folder still lying on the passenger seat beside me. Proof. Ugly proof that Ben was drowning in debt and dragging everyone else down with him. But now When I pulled up to her house, chaos already spilled out onto the lawn. Cars were parked crooked across the driveway. Family members paced the porch, voices sharp and panicked. Someone shouted for an ambulance. Others cried. I barely got the car into park before I jumped out. My chest heaved as I shoved through the crowd, my ears buzzing. Inside, the living room looked like a battlefield. Grandma was lying on the carpet, her face pale, her eyes half closed. Anna was kneeling beside her, holding her hand, her face streaked with tears. Ben stood nearby, wringing his hands like an actor playing sorrow. What happened? I demanded, my voice cracking. Anna looked up at me. She was talking, and then she gasped and collapsed. We called 911. They're on their way. I dropped to my knees on the other side of Grandma, staring at her fragile body. For a moment, the anger, the betrayal, the fights, all of it melted. This was my grandmother. The woman who had raised us in her house every summer, who cooked biscuits that made the whole neighborhood jealous, who ruled with iron but also carried secrets we never questioned. Her eyes fluttered weakly open, just for a second, and they locked on mine. I couldn't read her expression. It wasn't fear, it wasn't pain. It was something sharper, like warning. Then her eyes slipped closed again. The sirens wailed outside, red lights flashing through the window. Paramedics rushed in, moving with swift precision. They lifted her carefully, speaking in clipped voices, asking for space. The family crowded around, but no one dared stop them as they wheeled her out on a stretcher. I followed them outside, watching as they loaded her into the ambulance. My legs felt like lead, but when Anna tugged my arm, I snapped back to myself. "Come on," she whispered urgently. "We need to follow." I nodded and we ran to my car. The folder still sat on the seat, silent and damning. I shoved it under the seat, out of sight, before speeding off behind the ambulance. The hospital waiting room smelled of antiseptic and fear. Family members clustered in groups, whispering, pacing, praying. Ben sat in the corner, his head in his hands, though I couldn't tell if the tears on his face were real or rehearsed. I sat with Anna, my knee bouncing uncontrollably. Every time the doors opened, I jerked my head up, hoping for news. Finally, a doctor stepped out, his expression serious. "She's stable," he said. A collective sigh of relief spread through the room. "But she had a mild heart attack. She'll need rest and observation for the next few days." Tears slipped down my cheeks before I realized it. I wasn't ready to lose her, not like this, not after everything. The doctor left, and slowly conversations bubbled up again. Some family members cried openly, others made plans for rotating visits. But through it all, I noticed Grandma's eyes hadn't left me in that brief moment she was awake. That silent warning still burned in my chest. "Why me? Why that look?" Anna leaned closer, whispering, "Daniel, this wasn't just her heart. Something's wrong. You saw the way she looked at you." I nodded slowly, like she wanted to tell me something. Anna's eyes flicked toward Ben, or like she wanted to protect you from something. My gaze followed hers. Ben sat quietly now, scrolling on his phone. He looked nervous, his leg bouncing. I wondered if he was texting those very people he owed, the ones who didn't forgive. The folder under my car seat felt heavier with every passing second. Hours dragged on. Some relatives went home, others stayed curled up in chairs. It was nearly midnight when the nurse came out and said, "2 visitors at a time." Immediately, voices rose. Who would go first? Aunt Mary demanded it should be her. Uncle Tom said he was closest to Grandma. But before the argument could swell, Ben stood and smoothed his shirt. "I'll go," he said softly, like the dutiful grandson. Something inside me snapped. "No," I said firmly. All eyes turned toward me. "I'll go in first." Ben's face twisted. "You? After everything you pulled? She doesn't even want to see you." My fists clenched, but I kept my voice even. "Then let her tell me that herself." The nurse raised a hand. "Only 2. Decide quickly." Anna slipped her arm through mine. "We're going." Before anyone could protest, the nurse led us down the hallway. My pulse thudded in my ears. When we entered the room, Grandma looked fragile in the hospital bed, wires connected to monitors that beeped steadily. Her eyes opened slowly as we stepped in. "Grandma," I whispered, moving to her side. Her lips parted, her voice weak but sharp. "Daniel." I leaned closer, gripping her hand gently. "I'm here." She swallowed hard, her eyes flicking toward the door as if to check if we were alone. "Listen to me." Anna stepped forward. "We're listening." Grandma's breath rattled as she forced out the words. "Ben is in trouble. Deep trouble. They'll come. They'll come for him. And for all of us." My chest tightened. "Who, Grandma? Who's coming?" Her hand squeezed mine with surprising strength. "The debts. The men behind them. Daniel, you must stop him before it's too late." A chill shot through me. She knew. She knew about the debts, the danger, everything. "Grandma," I whispered. "I have proof. I can expose him. I can." Her eyes widened suddenly, fear flashing across her face. She shook her head weakly. "No. Not yet. If you move too soon, they'll know. They're watching." "Who's watching?" I asked, desperation in my voice. But before she could answer, the door burst open. Ben strode in, his face tight with controlled anger. "What are you doing in here?" The nurse hurried in behind him. I said 2 at a time. Ben ignored her, glaring at me. "You think you can just sneak in here and fill her head with lies? She's the one telling me the truth." I snapped back, my voice louder than I meant. The monitors beeped faster. Grandma's hand trembled in mine. Anna grabbed my arm, whispering fiercely, "Daniel, stop, it's stressing her." But Ben wasn't backing down. He stepped closer, his voice low but venomous. "You need to learn when to shut up, cousin. You're going to regret this." The nurse pushed him back, scolding, but his eyes never left mine. They were cold, threatening. Grandma weakly raised her hand. "Enough," she rasped, her voice barely audible. But the room was already spinning with tension. And then, as if fate wanted to prove her right, A loud crash echoed from down the hall. Shouts followed. Heavy footsteps pounded closer. Anna's eyes widened. What's happening? The nurse rushed to the door, peering out. Her face drained of color. Security, she yelled. I darted to the doorway, my heart racing. 3 men in dark jackets were storming down the hallway. Their faces grim, their steps purposeful. Not hospital staff. Not visitors. I knew instantly who they were. The men Ben owed. And they had come. The men's footsteps thundered closer, their presence swallowing the sterile hospital air. My heart leapt into my throat. Anna grabbed my hand, her eyes wide with fear. The nurse shouted again for security, but her voice was drowned out by the heavy tread of boots. The first man shoved past her, his face hard, his jaw clenched. His jacket shifted just enough for me to catch a glimpse of something dark tucked at his waist. Ben Carter, he barked, his voice like gravel. We've been looking for you. The room froze. Grandma's monitors beeped wildly, her heart rate spiking. Ben stiffened, his face draining of color. For the first time the mask cracked and pure fear showed through. I don't know what you're talking about, he stammered, backing toward the wall. The second man smirked coldly. Don't play dumb. You've been hiding. Running. But you can't hide forever. Not from us. Uncle Tom and Aunt Mary had rushed into the hallway at the noise. Now they stood frozen in shock, their eyes darting from Ben to the intruders. What is going on? Aunt Mary demanded. The third man laughed, low and cruel. Your golden boy owes money. A lot of money. And time's up. Gasps rippled through the hall. Family members stepped back in disbelief, their perfect picture of Ben shattering like glass.
I glans af grandma. Her lips tramplede. Her chestheaving.
She tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Stop! I shouted, stepping between the men and Ben. My body trembled, but I held my ground. This is a hospital. You can't just storm in here, Anne. The leader's eyes cut to me, sharp as a blade. Stay out of this, kid. Unless you want his debt to be yours too. For a split second, I faltered. But then anger surged. I thought of all the years Grandma defended Ben. All the times the family ignored me, all the humiliation. Now here it was, proof of everything I had said. You want the truth? I shouted, my voice echoing down the corridor. This is the truth. Ben's been lying, gambling, sinking this family into danger. And you all called me jealous. The family's silence was deafening. Faces pale, eyes wide, their faith in Ben crumbling before their eyes. Ben's voice cracked, desperate. Daniel, stop. No, I snapped, turning back to him. You stop. Stop pretending. They've come for you. And now everyone finally sees it. Security guards appeared at the end of the hall, rushing toward us. The men cursed under their breath, realizing their window was closing. The leader grabbed Ben by the collar, yanking him close. You've got 72 hours, he growled. Pay up or we come back. And next time we won't care if it's in front of your family, or your grandmother. He shoved Ben back. Then the 3 of them stormed out, disappearing into the night as security chased after them. The hallway fell into stunned silence. Grandma's monitor beeped faster, her frail body trembling with stress. Anna pressed the call button frantically, nurses rushing in to calm her. I stood frozen, my chest heaving. The truth was out. The lie was shattered. But it didn't feel like victory, it felt like the beginning of a war. Because 72 hours wasn't long. And I had no idea how deep Ben's debts really went. The hallway felt colder after the men stormed out, as if their threats had sucked the warmth from the air. My ears still rang with the leader's words. 72 hours. That was all the time left before everything collapsed. The nurses were gathered around Grandma, working to calm her heart rate. Family members whispered in frantic huddles, their voices sharp with fear. For once, no one looked at me like I was the problem. Their eyes, wide, uncertain, accusing, were all on Ben. He leaned against the wall, his face pale, his hands shaking. For the first time in my life, he looked small. Not the golden boy, not Grandma's favorite, not the perfect grandson. Just a man caught in a trap of his own making. What was that? Aunt Mary's voice cracked like a whip. Ben, tell me they're lying. Ben swallowed hard, his lips trembling. I just got in a little over my head. It's not as bad as they make it sound. Not as bad. Uncle Tom's face turned red. They just threatened our family in a hospital. Do you have any idea what you've done? Murmurs of agreement rippled through the others. Cousins shook their heads, aunts whispered prayers. The illusion was gone. Anna touched my arm gently. Her eyes said what my heart already knew. This is what you wanted. The truth is out. But instead of satisfaction, I felt a heavy ache inside. Grandma stirred in the hospital bed, her frail voice cutting through the noise. Stop shouting. All of you. The room hushed instantly. Even in weakness, she commanded attention. Her eyes, sharp despite the monitors and wires, turned to Ben. Is it true? Ben's shoulders sagged. He couldn't meet her gaze. Yes, he whispered. The silence that followed was suffocating. Grandma closed her eyes, pain etched across her face, not just from her heart, but from betrayal. When she opened them again, her gaze shifted to me. For the first time in years, she didn't look at me with disdain. There was something else. Something like regret. Daniel, she said softly. What do we do? My chest tightened. The whole family turned to me, their faces a mixture of shame and expectation. The boy they dismissed, the one they mocked, the one they called jealous. Now they looked at me like I held the answer. I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. What do we do? I repeated bitterly. He dug this hole. Maybe he should sit in it. Ben's head jerked up, his eyes wide. Daniel, please. The words should have satisfied me. For years I dreamed of this moment. Him begging me, holding the power. But instead, all I felt was a hollow ache. Anna squeezed my hand, grounding me. Daniel, you don't have to decide right now, she whispered. But I knew time was running out. 72 hours. Uncle Tom slammed his fist against the wall. We can't just wait for those men to come back. We need to do something. Like what? Aunt Mary snapped. We can't pay off debts that size. And even if we could, how do we know they'd stop? The room dissolved into arguments, shouts, accusations, fear boiling over. Meanwhile, Ben sank lower against the wall, tears sliding down his face. I didn't mean for it to get this far, he whispered, barely audible over the noise. I wanted to hate him. I wanted to scream that he deserved every bit of this. But when I looked at him, really looked at him, I saw not the cousin who stole the spotlight, but a man drowning in mistakes. Still, the choice wasn't simple. Saving him meant risking myself, risking Anna, risking the little piece I had left. But letting him fall could mean dragging the whole family down with him. Grandma's voice cut through the chaos again. Weaker this time but firm. Enough. This family does not fall apart in front of strangers. We face this together. Her words carried the weight of generations, but they didn't erase the truth. Together or not, the clock was ticking. Later that night, when the others left for home, Anna and I stayed behind. I sat alone in the hospital cafeteria, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. The folder I had hidden under my car seat now lay open on the table. Page after page of Ben's debts, IOUs, and desperate messages stared back at me. Anna leaned across from me, her eyes tired but steady. So what's the plan? I rubbed my temples, my mind racing. We could go to the police. But debts like this, they don't care about police. These aren't men who back down because of law. Then we find another way, she said softly. I shook my head. I don't even know where to start. He owes too much. And 72 hours isn't long enough. Anna reached over, placing her hand on mine. Daniel. Maybe this isn't about saving him. Maybe this is about saving us. Her words sank deep. Saving us. Protecting ourselves, even if it meant letting Ben face the fire alone. But then I remembered Grandma's warning. They'll come for him, and for all of us. If I did nothing, they wouldn't just destroy Ben. They'd drag the rest of us into it. Suddenly my phone buzzed. I snatched it up, expecting another family text. But it wasn't. It was from the same unknown number that had sent me the proof. Time's running out. Meet me tomorrow midnight at the docks. Come alone. Or the family pays the price. I stared at the screen, my pulse pounding. This wasn't just about Ben anymore. They wanted me. The docks were silent at midnight, the kind of silence that makes every sound echo. The water lapped against the wooden posts, black and endless under the faint moonlight. My car was the only one parked near the edge. I stepped out, the folder clutched under my arm, my breath sharp in the cold air. Every instinct screamed at me to turn around, to leave, but I forced my legs forward. A shadow moved near the warehouses. Then 3 men stepped into the open, the same ones from the hospital. The leader smirked when he saw me. "Daniel," he said smoothly, like we were old friends. "Glad you came." I clenched my jaw. "You said to come alone." "I'm here." "What do you want?" The leader's smile faded. "Simple. Ben owes us. And when one of your blood owes, the whole family owes. You've got 72 hours left to make it right." I held up the folder, my hands shaking but steady enough. "I know exactly what Ben owes. I know the names, the amounts, everything." His eyes narrowed. "Careful, kid. Knowledge can get you hurt." I swallowed hard but pushed forward. "If you think threatening Grandma, threatening the family, is going to scare me into silence, you're wrong. You want your money? Fine. But you deal with Ben. Not us." The leader chuckled darkly. "Oh, I like you. You've got guts. But guts won't buy him out of this hole." He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a growl. "And when time runs out, we won't ask again. We'll take what we want." The other 2 laughed, the sound low and cruel. My fists clenched, anger burning hot in my chest. "Then I'll find a way," I said firmly, louder than I felt. "But if you come near Grandma again, near anyone else, I swear you'll regret it." The leader studied me for a long moment, then grinned. "Tick-tock, Daniel. 72 hours. They turned and melted back into the shadows, leaving me alone with the sound of the water and the crushing weight of their threat. I stood frozen, the folder heavy in my hand. I had 3 days to save my family, or lose everything. The drive home from the docks felt endless. The night pressed against the windshield, and every shadow looked like it was following me. Their words replayed in my head on a loop. 72 hours. We'll take what we want. By the time I pulled into my driveway, my hands were sore from gripping the steering wheel. Anna was waiting inside, pacing the living room. The moment I stepped through the door, she rushed to me. "What happened?" she asked, her voice urgent. I dropped the folder onto the table and collapsed into a chair. "They're serious, Anna. Dead serious. Ben's debt isn't just numbers on paper. It's blood money. And if it's not paid in 3 days, they're coming for all of us." Her face paled. She sank onto the couch, whispering, "So what do we do?" That was the question, wasn't it? What do we do when a storm like this is crashing down? I rubbed my temples. "We have 3 options. 1, we find the money. Somehow. 2, we go to the police, but that could backfire. Or 3." I hesitated, the thought chilling me. "We let Ben take the fall." Anna's eyes widened. "Daniel, I'm not saying I want to," I cut in quickly. "But he made this mess. He lied. He gambled. He put us all in danger. Why should the rest of us pay for his mistakes?" She was quiet for a long moment. Then she whispered, "Because if they kill him, they won't stop there. They'll still come after the family." The truth of her words settled heavily between us. The next morning, the hospital waiting room was a battlefield again. Relatives huddled in corners, arguing in hushed voices. Uncle Tom demanded Ben confess everything. Aunt Mary wept into a tissue, muttering prayers. And Ben sat apart, staring blankly at the floor, his shoulders hunched like a man carrying a coffin on his back. When I walked in, all eyes turned to me. I didn't need to ask why. I was the one with answers now. "What did they say?" Uncle Tom pressed, his jaw tight. "They gave him 72 hours, I said, my voice steady even though my insides churned. "If it's not paid, they'll come back." Gasps rippled. Someone cursed under their breath. "How much is it?" Aunt Mary asked, her voice trembling. I opened the folder and slid a paper onto the table. "All of it. Every IOU, every slip. He owes over 100,000. The room erupted. Voices overlapped. Hands flew into the air. Accusations spat like venom. Where would we even get that kind of money? "He's ruined us. Maybe we should just let him." "Stop." Grandma's voice rasped from her hospital bed, sharp even in her weakness. The room went silent. She looked at Ben, her face lined with sorrow. "Is it true?" Ben's lips quivered. He nodded. A heavy silence fell again. Then Grandma turned her gaze on me. Daniel, what did they say to you? I swallowed hard. They said if he doesn't pay, they'll take what they want. From all of us. Her eyes closed briefly as if absorbing the blow. When she opened them again, she looked tired. Old. Then we must find a way. Uncle Tom scoffed. With what money? Unless you've got a magic vault hidden somewhere, we're doomed. His words hung heavy. He wasn't wrong. Later, in the cafeteria, Ben cornered me. His face was desperate, his voice low. Daniel, please. You have to help me. You're the only one who knows how bad this is. I stared at him, my chest tight with anger. Why should I help you? You've spent your whole life taking everything. Grandma's love. The family's respect. And when I finally tried to give her something from my heart, she called it cheap. Do you remember that, Ben? She humiliated me in front of everyone. And you just smiled. His face crumpled. I know. I was wrong. About everything. But if you don't help me now, they'll kill me. I wanted to tell him I didn't care. That it would serve him right. But when I pictured his blood on the hands of those men, and Grandma lying in her hospital bed knowing she couldn't protect him, my chest ached. You've got 3 days, I said coldly. Figure out how to save yourself. That night, Anna and I sat at the kitchen table, bills and bank statements spread out before us. We didn't have enough. Not even close. There has to be another way, she said, her voice breaking. I tapped the folder. Maybe there is. These debts. These names. This could bring them down if I give it to the police. But you heard what Grandma said. Anna reminded me. They're watching. If you move too soon, they'll come after us. The clock ticked on the wall. Every second felt like it was dragging us closer to disaster. The next day, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. My stomach dropped when I answered. You think you're clever, Daniel? The gravelly voice said. It was the leader. We saw you at the docks. We saw the folder. Don't get ideas. You've got 60 hours left. If you even whisper to the police, your grandmother's heart won't survive the shock of what we'll do. The line went dead. I sat frozen, the phone trembling in my hand. Anna touched my shoulder gently. What did they say? They're watching, I whispered. They know everything. That night, the family gathered again, this time at Uncle Tom's house. The tension was thick enough to choke on. We need to decide, Aunt Mary said firmly. Do we save him or let him sink? Eyes turned to me again. I hated it. I didn't ask to be their leader. But here I was, carrying the weight they had never trusted me with before. Ben sat across the room, silent, his face pale. He didn't beg this time. He just looked at me with hollow eyes, like a man waiting for his sentence. I opened my mouth to speak, when suddenly the window shattered. A brick flew across the room, landing on the table with a thud. Wrapped around it was a note. Anna gasped. Aunt Mary screamed. I unwrapped the paper, my heart racing as I read the words scrawled in black ink. 48 hours. Tick-tock. The room exploded in chaos. And I knew then, the storm wasn't waiting for us to decide. It was already here. The brick sat on the table like a live grenade. The note's words burned in my mind. 48 hours. Tick-tock. Aunt Mary clutched her chest, trembling. Uncle Tom stormed toward the shattered window, cursing under his breath. They're playing with us, he spat. They know where we live. They could have walked right in. Ben hadn't moved. He sat frozen in his chair, eyes locked on the brick as if it might explode. For the first time I saw real terror on his face. Anna leaned close to me, whispering, Daniel, this isn't just a threat anymore. They're in control. We can't wait this out. She was right. Every instinct in me screamed that time was running faster than the clock on the wall. Then came the sound. Tires screeching outside. A car engine revving. All of us rushed to the window in panic. Headlights blazed against the front of the house. A black SUV sat idling, its windows tinted so dark we couldn't see inside. Everyone away from the windows. Uncle Tom ordered, pulling Aunt Mary back. The SUV lingered for what felt like forever. Then slowly, deliberately, it rolled away into the night. The silence that followed was suffocating. They're watching us, Anna whispered. Every move. I looked around at my family, faces pale, eyes wide, fear sinking deep. And then my gaze fell on Ben. He wouldn't meet my eyes. His shoulders sagged like he'd already given up. That was when it hit me. If I didn't act, nobody would. The family was too divided, too broken. They wanted me to lead, but they were too scared to follow. And the clock was still ticking. I picked up the brick, heavy in my hand. The cold roughness of it grounded me. "We have 48 hours, I said quietly but firmly. "I don't know how yet, but I'm going to end this. One way or another." The family stared at me, some with hope, others with doubt. Ben finally lifted his head, his lips parting as if to speak. But before he could say a word, another crash sounded outside. Glass shattered. This time it wasn't just a warning. The crash was louder this time, sharper, like the world itself splitting open. Everyone jumped, Aunt Mary screamed, and Uncle Tom cursed as he pulled the curtains shut. "Stay down," he barked, but my body was already moving toward the door. Anna grabbed my arm. "Daniel, don't." "I have to," I told her. "If we keep hiding, they'll just keep coming. It won't stop." The night outside was alive with tension. Broken glass glittered on the porch like cruel stars. My eyes darted across the yard. At first, nothing, just shadows stretching under the pale glow of the street lamp. Then I saw it. Another brick lying on the driveway, this one wrapped in something white. I crouched, unwrapping it quickly. A photo slipped out. My chest went cold. It was a picture of Grandma in her hospital bed, taken that very morning. They'd been inside. My fists clenched. Fear shifted into something hotter, sharper. Anger. Behind me, the door creaked. Uncle Tom stepped out with a baseball bat, his face grim. "Well, what is it?" I handed him the photo. His jaw tightened, eyes narrowing. "Those animals. They're not bluffing anymore." The sound of laughter drifted from the street, low mocking. Figures appeared, stepping into the faint glow of the lamppost. 3 of them, maybe 4. The same men from the hospital. The leader called out, his voice booming. "Tick-tock, Daniel. Time's slipping. Thought we'd give you a little reminder." Uncle Tom lifted the bat, his body trembling with rage. "You get the hell off this property." They laughed louder. One of them picked up a rock, tossing it casually between his hands. The message was clear. They weren't leaving. I felt Anna's eyes on me from the window, felt the family's fear pressing against my back. And for once, I wasn't just the quiet nephew or the overlooked grandson. I was the one standing between them and the wolves. "Listen to me," I shouted, my voice echoing down the street. "You've made your point. But if you think scaring us will get you the money faster, you're wrong. We can't get it that quick. You're wasting your time." The leader stepped closer, his grin cruel. "Then maybe we start taking payments another way. Peace here, peace there. Until it hurts enough for you to find the cash." His eyes glinted. "Maybe we start with Grandma." Something inside me snapped. "You touch her," I roared. "And I swear I'll bury you myself." For a heartbeat, silence. Then the leader's grin widened. "There's that fire again. I like you, Daniel. But fire burns out. Tick-tock." They turned and melted back into the night, leaving their threats hanging heavy in the air. Uncle Tom lowered the bat, his shoulders slumping. "They'll be back. And next time they won't just throw rocks." Back inside, chaos reigned. Aunt Mary was sobbing. Anna clung to me, whispering frantically. Ben sat in the corner, pale as chalk, unable to look anyone in the eye. "This is on you," Uncle Tom snapped at him. "Your mess brought this to our doorstep. And now my family's in danger." Ben's voice cracked. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." "Didn't mean." Tom exploded. "You gambled us into hell. You don't mean your way out of that." "Stop." Grandma's weak voice broke through the shouting. She sat propped against her pillows, trembling. "Fighting each other won't save us. We need a plan." All eyes turned to me again. I took a deep breath. "We have less than 2 days. The police are risky, but doing nothing means they'll destroy us. So we hit back. Not with fists. With proof." I opened the folder again, spreading out the papers. "These debts, these names, they connect to bigger fish. If we leak this to the right people, they'll be too busy cleaning up to chase us." Ben shook his head wildly. No. You don't understand. These men, if you cross them, they'll find you no matter what. Police won't save you. I stared at him hard. Then you tell me, Ben. Who are they really? What are you hiding? His silence spoke volumes. His lips trembled, his eyes darted. He wasn't telling us everything. Ben, Grandma whispered, her voice heavy with hurt. Please. No more lies. Finally he broke. It's not just gambling, he admitted. I borrowed money to cover the losses. Loan sharks. And then I borrowed more to cover the loans. They're not just thugs. They're tied to something bigger. The kind of people you don't cross. The room fell silent. The weight of his confession pressing down like a stone. Anna touched my arm. Her voice barely audible. Daniel, what if leaking this folder makes them come for you first? I looked at the photo of Grandma in her hospital bed. At the note. At the brick. Then at my family, broken, terrified, waiting for me to decide. If I don't do something, I said slowly, we all go down together. Grandma's frail hand reached for mine. Whatever you do, my boy, be careful. Don't lose yourself trying to save us. Her words lodged deep in my chest. That night I barely slept. I sat in the kitchen with the folder, staring at the papers until the ink blurred. Every plan I thought of ended in blood. Every choice felt like the wrong one. But as dawn crept through the blinds, I knew I couldn't just wait anymore. If they wanted a war, I'd give them one. Even if it meant risking everything. And so before the sun fully rose, I picked up the folder, tucked it under my arm and headed for the door. Because somewhere out there someone needed to see these papers. And if I didn't move now, I might not live long enough to try. The city was barely awake when I walked into the newsroom. My hands trembled as I slid the folder across the desk of a journalist I trusted. She flipped through the papers, her eyes widening. Where did you get this? She whispered. Doesn't matter, I said. Just make it loud enough that they can't bury it. Her gaze lingered on me. She knew I was risking more than I was saying. But she nodded. Consider it done. By evening it was everywhere. Headlines, local news, whispers in the streets. Names were exposed, networks revealed. The men who had terrorized us weren't just loan sharks anymore. They were criminals with connections that now burned under the public spotlight. But with exposure came danger. That night, as I sat with Anna and the family in the dimly lit living room, the sound of engines growled outside. My heart leapt into my throat. They're here, Uncle Tom muttered, gripping the bat again. The headlights blazed across the window. Doors slammed. Heavy footsteps approached. Then sirens. Red and blue lights flooded the street. Police vehicles screeched to a stop, surrounding the black SUVs. Officers stormed out, weapons drawn. Shouts filled the night as men were dragged to the ground, handcuffed, shouting curses. Through the chaos, I saw the leader's eyes lock with mine. His glare was venom, a promise that this wasn't over. But as the police shoved him into the back of a cruiser, I felt the weight lift, if only a little. Inside, the family erupted in relief. Aunt Mary sobbed into Uncle Tom's chest. Anna gripped my hand so tight it hurt. Even Ben wept silently, his face buried in his hands. Grandma, weak but smiling, whispered from her chair, "You saved us, Daniel." I shook my head. No, Grandma. We saved ourselves, by finally seeing the truth. The next morning, the house was quiet. For the first time in weeks, silence felt like peace, not fear. Ben sat across from me, eyes red. "I don't deserve forgiveness," he said. "No," I agreed softly. "But you can earn it. Starting now." He nodded, tears sliding down his cheeks. And me? I'd learned something too. That sometimes the people who are ignored, underestimated, or even mocked are the ones who stand strongest when the storm hits. That night, as I tucked the old handmade gift back into Grandma's drawer, I smiled to myself. Cheap or not, it was proof of love. And love, real love, was something no debt could ever steal. Thank you for listening to my story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button for more. And before you go, let me know from which part of the country you're watching this. I'll see you next time with another story.